is scared to hustle because niggas is snitching so much. Maybe that's what's going on. I would be scared to hustle too when I know that every other nigga is snitching just so he don't want to do no time because he's can't bear to be inside the jail.
Jim Jones, who is Jim Jones? Like, he's not on anyone's top 10 list. He's like no one's top 10 list, maybe not even his family.
Jim Jones is listed as a federal informant in court documents in the case against Tekashi. In the original court transcripts that were previously released online, the conversation between individual one, Jim Jones, is listed as cooperating with federal agents in a conversation with Jamal Murder Jones, which would explain why Jim Jones has been able to have such a lengthy criminal record and avoid prison time in the past.
Rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine pleaded guilty to federal charges, admitting he participated in a violent gang. He also pledged to cooperate with prosecutors. The rapper, whose legal name is Daniel Hernandez, said he joined the 9 Trey Blood Gang in the fall of 2017.
Welcome back to your daily dose of scandal and glamour. Let's spill the tea on today's hottest drama. An old audio just resurfaced, and it's wild. Jay-Z can be heard flat out calling Jim Jones a snitch. But here's where it gets real messy. Jay's own right hand at Roc Nation is a confirmed federal informant. So now everyone's asking, why is this clip leaking now? And why Jim? See, Jim's been stirring the pot lately, especially after throwing slick shots at Nas. And once he did that, folks started digging up all his skeletons. That includes some serious receipts accusing Jim of cooperating with the feds. But here's the real head-scratcher. If Jay-Z is so anti-snitch, why is he still surrounded by them? His top exec at Roc Nation is a known informant. And yet, somehow, Jim still landed a Roc Nation deal? Something ain't adding up. Now back to that leaked audio that lit the match. In the clip, Jay-Z doesn't hold back. He straight up says Jim Jones is a fake rapper.
As we can tell, there's no expense being spared. We had a black billionaire's lunch. Yeah. You understand?
Right.
And we here together.
I think we passed kneeling.
Let me play it again. This time, look at the reaction of the lady sat just behind him. The reason why she's worried about how Jay would respond is because she's the CEO of Roc Nation. But in her former life, she was a federal informant.
Someone who doesn't even count as his peer because his whole role in the industry ain't music, it's something else. That shade? Ice cold. So now people are wondering, was Jay trying to hint at Jim's secret past way before the rest of us caught on? And if Jay really knew what Jim was about, why bring him into Roc Nation at all? Let's get into these Jim is a snitch rumors, because they've been floating around for years. But it was 50 Cent who made sure those whispers turned into full-blown headlines. 50 never forgot, and he never lets the internet forget either. He made sure everyone remembered that snitch talk when Jim's name came up again. And now that Jay's audio just leaked, the whole thing feels like it's strategic. Someone clearly wants this drama back in the spotlight. Jim Jones jumped right back into the spotlight, loud and bold, after posting a photo on Instagram standing alongside Jay-Z, Fat Joe, and a few other power players. But it was the caption that really got people talking. Jim wrote, "LOL, individual one calling the shots out here. I know you working, so please don't say gangster-ish to me, individual one."
Rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine pleaded guilty to federal charges, admitting he participated in a violent gang. He also pledged to cooperate with prosecutors. The rapper, whose legal name is Daniel Hernandez, said he joined the 9 Trey Blood Gang in the fall of 2017. He says he helped them try to kill a rival gang member last March. Prosecutors say the gang carried out acts of murder, robbery, and narcotics trafficking in Manhattan, the Bronx, and Brooklyn. The indictment also said each gang member was required to participate in at least 2 acts of racketeering conspiracy, which could include murder, robbery, extortion, or drug distribution. The plea deal could allow Hernandez leniency at sentencing. He was facing a mandatory 47-year prison.
That line? Pure shade, and people instantly knew it wasn't just some random joke. So, what's the story behind Individual One? That nickname ties straight into the wild rumors that Jim Jones was working with the feds during the infamous Tekashi 6991 racketeering case. Here's how it all connects. While Tekashi was testifying in court, snitching on the 9 Trey Bloods crew, a wiretapped call from 2018 leaked, and guess who was on the line? Jim Jones. In that call, Jim said Tekashi ain't a gang member no more and needed to be violated. That wiretap became a major talking point. And of course, 50 Cent didn't waste a second. He posted the entire transcript for the world to see. Let's rewind to 2018. Tekashi 6ix9ine got slapped with serious federal charges. racketeering, gun charges, and more, alongside multiple 9 Trey members, a violent crew with strong ties to the Bloods. The feds had been building a case against 9 Trey for a while, and when Tekashi got caught, he flipped fast. By September 2019, Tekashi was on the stand, turning his trial into a full-on snitch session. He named names left and right: Anthony Harv Ellison, Aljermiah Nuke Mack, and several others. It was explosive, and the fact that Jim Jones came up in the wiretaps only made those Fed rumors louder. Tekashi didn't just snitch, he exposed the entire 9 Trey operation like it was a Netflix series. He laid out their whole playbook, name by name, move by move.
Detective Jones, people at Splash Brand do not f with no informants. I did 4 years in the feds, homie, because I ain't snitch. You set your best friend up on a wiretap. See, Whack 100 and Tekashi, they don't got receipts like that because they really don't know.
Turning the courtroom into a crime documentary. But where does Jim Jones fit into all this? Well, his name came up in some seriously shady wiretap audio that got played during trial, and people haven't stopped talking since. One of the calls featured Jim allegedly speaking with Jamel Mel Murda Jones, one of 9 Trey's top dogs. In that conversation, they were apparently strategizing on how to deal with Tekashi after he went public about leaving the gang. The wild part? Jim sounded like he was hinting at some kind of payback, serious retaliation talk. That wiretap had people shocked, not just because it connected Jim to the highest levels of 9 Trey, but because it raised a huge question. How did Jim land on a federal wiretap discussing gang business and walk away untouched? No indictment, no charges, just silence. Naturally, this got folks whispering and then shouting the same theory. Was Jim cooperating? Was he working with the feds to keep himself out of trouble? Those questions blew up across social media, and nobody pushed that narrative harder than Whack 100. He didn't hold back. He straight up called Jim a federal informant. Whack said the only reason Jim didn't get picked up was because he was already playing ball with law enforcement. Now, with that kind of call on the record and no legal consequences, people aren't letting this one go. Something shady is definitely hanging in the air. Whack 100 didn't just speak on it. He doubled down on Clubhouse and in interviews, even when chopping it up with Tekashi himself. He dared Jim Jones to clear his name and prove he wasn't working with the feds. "Show the receipts," Whack demanded. But Jim, he stayed silent. That silence made everything even louder. And it didn't stop with Whack. Another voice jumped in, Jaja, a former Dipset member, and she lit the match again. Jaja claimed she had proof that Jim actually set up his own homie, Mel Murda. Yup, she accused Jim of feeding info that got Mel jammed up. Now, whether her receipts are solid or not, that accusation added serious smoke to the already blazing fire. Now that we've seen how the whole Jim Jones is a snitch narrative blew up, let's circle back to Jay-Z. If Jay really did help bring this drama back into the spotlight, there's history there. Because Jay and Jim, their beef runs deep, like 10+ years deep. It all started back in the early 2000s. In 2002, Dame Dash brought Cam'ron and Jim Jones into Rockefeller Records. That's when the tension started simmering. Jim claimed Cam was promised a vice president spot at the label, but Jay-Z never confirmed it. In fact, Jay told the source at the time, "That's not taking effect as of yet. I think the talk is a little premature." Basically, he shut it down. And all this was happening while Jay was in the middle of his war with Nas. Around that time, Jay recorded a remix to Cam'ron and Jules Santana's hit Oh Boy and threw jabs at Nas, but Cam and Jim weren't here for it. They refused to drop the remix, and Cam even cut Jay's verse entirely. He later said he wasn't going to let Jay use the track for his own beef. That move right there, it kicked the feud into overdrive. That whole remix drama set the tone for what came next. Cam'ron and Jim Jones felt straight up disrespected. They believed Jay-Z didn't rate them and didn't give them the recognition they deserved. And from that moment on, the sneak disses started flying. Jim wasted no time. He started calling out Jay in interviews and on the radio, clowning him for being corporate, saying he was out of touch with the streets, and even calling him soft. Jim made sure folks knew he stood on integrity, real street values, and he wasn't rocking with rappers who folded under pressure or turned snitch. What's wild is that Jim was preaching hard about being real, calling out anyone who flipped or cooperated, and now his name is the one people keep attaching to Fed rumors. The irony is crazy. At first, Jay-Z stayed quiet, no public clapbacks. But the tension inside Rockefeller, everyone could feel it. Then in 2006, Jim dropped the anthem We Fly High, and it went crazy. It became one of the biggest street records of the year. That's when Jay finally snapped back with his own response track, Brooklyn High, flipping Jim's own hit on him. But Jim didn't back down. He fired right back with a vicious remix, We Fly High, Beef Mix. And this one had direct smoke for Jay. Jim took shots at his age and didn't hold back with lines like, I told Warning your old A to chill, better slow down before your old ache gets killed. It got real ugly. By 2008, the beef wasn't just in songs anymore. It spilled into real life. Security footage came out showing Jim putting hands on someone inside a Louis Vuitton store. That someone? Jay-Z's longtime A&R, Lenny Santiago. Jim got arrested and later pled guilty to misdemeanor assault. Jay never addressed it head-on. But not long after, in an extra-large interview, he took slick jabs at Jim again, mocking his music with lines about nah, 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 nah. A clear shot at We Fly High. This beef was deep and it just kept getting nastier. Jay-Z didn't sugarcoat it. He came straight for Jim. In an interview, Jay said, "This is exactly what's dragging the culture down. I mean, like Jim Jones, for example. And I don't say this just because we never saw eye to eye, but he made nah, 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 nah. What's the difference between that? Smiley Face by Trey Songz and Soulja Boy." Jay even joked that Jim's song could have been called Smiley Face. Total disrespect. After that slick jab, the beef cooled off for a while. But then in 2015, Dipset came back swinging with a freestyle over Victory Beat. Cam and Jim used that moment to reload on Jay-Z and Roc Nation, mocking the Roc Nation brunch, taking shots at Jay for being too soft, too corporate, and no longer street. But here's where it gets crazy. After all those years of shade, Jim did a total 180. Out of nowhere, he flipped from throwing jabs to begging Jay to sign him. By February 2017, after over a decade of beef, Jim officially joined Roc Nation. Yup, he signed with Jay's camp. And Jim didn't move in silence either. He loudly let everyone know. The same Roc Nation brunch he once dissed? Suddenly, Jim was there suited up and smiling for the cameras. He started publicly praising Jay like the beef never happened, calling him a boss, showing love, and doing everything he could to prove his loyalty. People were shocked. How do you go from dissing the man for being corporate to flexing like you're part of the inner circle? The switch-up had everyone questioning what was really going on behind the scenes. But once again, Jay-Z kept it silent. He barely acknowledged Jim Jones joining Roc Nation. No post, no public welcome, nothing. It was obvious Jay was keeping it strictly business. No bonding, no bromance, just paperwork. He didn't want the streets or the industry thinking he and Jim were suddenly tight. But here's where things get real interesting. Some say Jay signing Jim wasn't a peace offering, it was a chess move. See, Jay's been known to pull off strategic power plays. He doesn't squash beefs, he absorbs his rivals. Just look at the Lox, Fat Joe, J. Cole, Meek Mill. They all had drama with Jay at some point. And somehow, they all ended up under Roc Nation. So when it comes to Jim, it wasn't love, it was leverage. Jay brought him to the Rock but kept his distance. No photos, no brunch flicks, nothing. So was Jay protecting his empire from the heat that came with Jim's name? Especially after those Tekashi wiretap clips and all that snitch talk? Now here's where it gets real messy. Jay's always pushed that no snitching image like it's gospel. But guess what? The president of Roc Nation, his right-hand woman, Desiree Perez, she's a documented federal informant. Facts. So if Jay's fine doing business with a confirmed informant, then why ghost Jim over rumors? That's when folks started whispering, what if Jay's playing both sides? Maybe for him it's not about loyalty, it's about control, power, ownership. Jay never needed Jim, but Jim, he definitely needed Jay. And once Jim's name hit those wiretaps, Jay did what he always does, protect the brand. Maybe it wasn't that Jim might have snitched, maybe it's that Jim wasn't his snitch. Now that opens up a whole new set of questions about the kind of empire Jay's really running. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to stay in the loop with all the latest tea. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, and I'll catch you in the next video.